What if I told you the 2025 F1 Championship isn't over and Lando Norris might actually lose it? Red Bull just dropped explosive new evidence that could trigger a massive FIA punishment. McLaren is in full panic mode, and if this goes through, Verstappen could be crowned champion after the season has ended. This story is changing fast, so smash that subscribe button right now, because you do not want to miss what happens next. As the pressure mounts, the FIA's investigation is now fully underway, and it's no longer just a rumor swirling around the paddock. It's a full-scale inquiry that could overturn the results of the final Grand Prix. According to multiple insiders, FIA data analysts are currently cross-referencing GPS telemetry, onboard footage, and radio communication to determine if Norris indeed gained a sustained advantage off-track, particularly during lap 28 when he defended aggressively against Verstappen. What makes this even more dramatic is that Verstappen's race engineer, Gianpiero Lambiase, reportedly flagged the issue live during the race, but no action was taken. This new evidence presented by Red Bull includes slowed-down footage and side-by-side GPS overlays that claim to show Norris exceeding track limits not just once but multiple times under pressure. The FIA has been very strict about track limits all season, so this omission is now being questioned publicly. The reaction from fans has been electric. Some are calling this a witch hunt against Norris, suggesting Red Bull is using its power and influence to rewrite history. Others are praising Red Bull's commitment to fairness, claiming that if Verstappen was in Norris' position, penalties would have already been handed out. The F1 world is split, and that division is fueling even more global attention to the case. Behind the scenes, McLaren is scrambling. Reports indicate that team lawyers and engineers have already compiled a 40-page rebuttal to the FIA, claiming the so-called illegal overtake happened under green flag racing with full visibility and no lasting advantage gained. McLaren also argues that no track limit warnings were issued to Norris during the race, which implies that the stewards either deemed it legal or failed to notice, and that punishing him post-race would be retrospective injustice. Meanwhile, Verstappen has reportedly stayed calm and collected. In a brief post-race interview, he said, "I trust the process. If something wasn't legal, I'm sure the FIA will handle it. I just focus on driving." However, sources say Red Bull has already started preparing a legal motion, just in case this investigation becomes a full hearing. They're leaving nothing to chance, knowing how much is at stake. Other teams are watching closely, too. Ferrari and Mercedes, though not directly involved, have both issued public statements calling for clarity and consistency in FIA decisions, especially when championship implications are involved. Both teams have had results overturned in past seasons due to post-race reviews, and they know how crucial every detail can be when a title hangs in the balance. Finally, the FIA is expected to conclude its investigation by the end of the week. If Norris is penalized even with a 5-second time penalty, he could drop enough positions in the Abu Dhabi classification to lose the World Championship to Verstappen by a single point. It would be one of the most dramatic endings to a season in Formula One history, and fans are already calling it the Abu Dhabi Shock Part 2. The fallout from Red Bull's evidence submission is now echoing through the FIA headquarters in Paris. Multiple race directors and legal officials have been called in to reassess not only the specifics of Norris' overtake, but the larger implications for precedent. If Norris is penalized, it would mark the first time in over a decade that a championship result has been overturned due to a post-race infraction involving a frontrunner. This is no longer just about a 5-second penalty, it's about the integrity of Formula One's rule enforcement. Social media is exploding. The hashtag penalty for Norris began trending globally within hours of the news breaking. Fans, pundits, and former drivers are all weighing in, and the split is brutal. British fans are rallying around Norris, with messages of support pouring in. Meanwhile, Verstappen's global fanbase, especially from the Netherlands and the United States, is demanding accountability, with calls for the FIA to enforce the rules, regardless of who's driving. Adding even more tension, leaked footage from Red Bull's evidence package appears to show Norris going 4 wheels off the track while completing his overtake on Verstappen, with race stewards allegedly failing to notice in real time. Analysts on Sky Sports F1 and ESPN have broken down the footage frame by frame, showing Norris clearly outside track limits. "If this is what Red Bull has handed to the FIA, it's damning," said one commentator. "The rulebook is black and white. If you gain an advantage off track, that's a penalty." McLaren, however, isn't going down without a fight. They've launched their own media offensive, pushing out interviews with engineers and data experts claiming that Norris was forced wide by Verstappen's line, a racing incident, not a rules violation. Team principal Andrea Stella stated firmly, "We will defend Lando with every tool available. He drove clean, and if this is an attempt to rewrite the race, we will not stand for it." The team is now demanding a formal FIA clarification of the rules application in overtaking scenarios. In a surprising twist, even FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem made a rare public comment. "We understand the intensity of the situation and the championship implications," he said. "Our responsibility is not to favor any driver or team, but to uphold the integrity of the sport." That statement alone shows how seriously this is being taken and that a decision could carry major political weight, especially with the FIA still under scrutiny from past controversies. Verstappen's camp is staying relatively quiet, but sources inside Red Bull indicate that they're confident the evidence speaks for itself. They've reportedly gone beyond footage, submitting GPS delta data, throttle trace overlays, and driver telemetry to prove Norris gained both time and track position unfairly. If the FIA agrees, the penalty could be swift, and depending on timing, it could affect not only the championship but also the 2026 grid, sponsors, and media rights discussions already underway. As the hours tick by, one thing is clear: this isn't just about Norris versus Verstappen anymore. It's a battle between McLaren and Red Bull, between FIA procedure and media pressure, between fairness and controversy. With millions of dollars, reputations, and titles at stake, the whole motorsport world is holding its breath. As investigations deepened on Monday morning, FIA representatives were spotted entering a closed-door meeting with McLaren and Red Bull officials in Abu Dhabi. This wasn't a routine debrief, it was a formal evidence review, complete with legal advisors and stewards from multiple recent Grand Prix weekends. Journalists stationed outside reported unusually high security, with access strictly limited. Something big is clearly brewing behind the scenes, and the paddock knows it. At the center of the storm is Lando Norris, who appeared visibly tense during a brief appearance outside the McLaren hospitality unit. When asked if he was worried about losing his podium or even the championship, Norris hesitated. "I trust the team. We raced hard. I did what I had to do." That statement was notably less confident than his usual post-race interviews, and some are interpreting it as a sign that McLaren is preparing for the worst. In contrast, Verstappen has returned to Milton Keynes and is reportedly on standby for a press conference depending on the outcome. Though Red Bull remains silent officially, insiders say Christian Horner and the team's legal counsel are optimistic the FIA will rule in their favor. Verstappen himself has not commented, but social media detectives spotted his Instagram post a cryptic image of a stopwatch and a trophy emoji. Fans took it as a signal that he believes time is on his side. What makes this moment even more critical is the precedent it could set. Never before has an FIA ruling based on post-race satellite telemetry and third-party data altered a championship-deciding result after the season finale. This isn't a technical disqualification for ride height or tire pressures. This is about driver behavior, track limits, and on-track legality under immense pressure. If the FIA moves forward with a punishment, the entire F1 paddock will need to rethink their approach to stewarding and appeals. Meanwhile, former champions and team bosses have begun weighing in. Sebastian Vettel, speaking on German TV, expressed concern about the dangerous precedent of politics influencing racing. On the other side, Nico Rosberg called the move long overdue, saying F1 has been far too lenient on racecraft violations in recent years. The debate has now gone far beyond just Abu Dhabi, it's about how the sport wants to be seen globally. Sponsors are also watching closely. Multiple McLaren partners have quietly requested updates from the team, worried about brand image fallout if Norris is sanctioned. Conversely, Red Bull sponsors are seizing the opportunity, prepping campaign materials that could drop immediately should Verstappen be confirmed as champion. The commercial side of F1 is very much in play. The difference between a win and a loss could be worth tens of millions in exposure and leverage heading into 2026. And the fans? They're split right down the middle. Some are rallying behind Norris, calling it a witch hunt led by Red Bull and FIA insiders. Others are demanding fairness and consistency. If it was any other driver, he'd already be penalized, one fan wrote. Tensions are reaching boiling point, and with the FIA's final decision expected within hours, the next move could be one of the most historic in modern Formula One.